Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a classic watch from Timex in a new iteration and form with the Timex Waterbury Traditional Automatic. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as a full authorized dealer of all the products that we offer. So in this video, deep dive looking at this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end. Also throughout this video, if you have further questions, check out the link in the description to the product page where you can learn more, purchase the watch, and book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. On March 5th, 1857, the Waterbury Clock Company was established in Waterbury, Connecticut by a group of investors led by Aaron Benedict and G.W. Burnham, both of whom already had ties to the clock-making industry as they were brass movement manufacturers for clocks before starting this particular venture. The company got off to a rocky start, from multiple factory fires to unexpected employee deaths, and, of course, the Civil War. Eventually, after recovering from two post-Civil War factory fires, the Waterbury Clock Company began to flourish. From 1868 until 1870, the company delivered an estimated 82,000 clocks and 95,000 movements. Then in 1892, the Waterbury Clock Company registered and launched their subsidiary company, the Waterbury Watch Company, where they produced low-end pocket watches for the Ingersoll Watch Company. And in turn, Ingersoll would sell these pocket watches for $1. And between 1896 and 1916, more than 40 million pocket watches were sold. Between World War I and the Great Depression, Ingersoll would become insolvent and the Waterbury Watch Company would acquire their assets. However, over time, the Waterbury Clock Company was placed in receivership as the Great Depression paralyzed the American economy. But towards the end of the Second World War, the company rebranded to the Time Corp and introduced its best-selling product yet, the Timex branded wristwatch. Of course, the company went on to change its name to the Timex Corporation and later still the Timex Group as we know it today. But today we're going to look at a watch that really encapsulates this tradition with the Waterbury Traditional Automatic 39. This watch is going to be a little bit towards the higher end of Timex's offering, but in terms of what it's delivering for the package, you're getting some really nice things here with, I think, the number one thing to see, 100 meters of water resistance. Now, in terms of the general case dimensions here for this watch, we're looking at 39 millimeters as the name would suggest for that case diameter, thickness 12.9 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug distance of 46.7 millimeters. In terms of the general wear of this watch, this one's gonna wear pretty true to a 39 millimeter case, if not a little bit smaller. The one element of this design that's going to make it wear a little bit larger is going to be the thickness, given the movement on the inside being an automatic Miyota 8 series caliber, which generally are going to be a little bit thicker on the wrist, but still, given that this one's coming under 13 millimeters, not too bad all things considered. That compact lug-to-lug dimension is certainly going to help in really just aiding this watch's wear on a wide variety of wrists. The case takes on mostly brush finishing along all the anterior surfaces of the lugs and bezel and along the sides of the case. Polished surfaces are found on the case back and the side of the fixed bezel. While wearing this piece though, your eyes will really only see brushed finishing. The brushwork is soft and transitions between appear to be done with care and precision considering the price. At the 3 o'clock, we have a slightly recessed push-pull crown that is signed with Timex's Waterbury logo. It's going to operate the automatic Miyota 8215 on the inside. Operates in typical fashion at that first position, can hand wind the movement. The second position, you can adjust that day-date complication. And at that farthest pulled out point, you then can adjust the time, but hacking seconds is not a feature on this watch. But although hacking is missing, this watch does feature something that many Timex automatics do not, especially in this kind of everyday format. This one comes with 100 meters of water resistance, and given the more dressy appearance of some of the aspects of the dial, this is very nice to see. For the strap here, Timex goes with a black, slightly padded, genuine leather strap that feels supple and malleable to the touch and is comfortable on the wrist. It's 20 millimeters at the lugs and tapers down to a standard polished pin buckle that features the Timex name etched across the top. It's a decent quality strap and I think is actually probably better than most Timex straps. I would say Timex in terms of this general range is sometimes kind of cutting corners with the straps, but I think this one's a little bit better than the norm. I would definitely recommend though for a watch like this, it's going to be of the everyday variety to check out some different different third-party straps. We have some great ones available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. Now, a big reason why I think there's just so much versatility with this watch, as we kind of talk about the straps, is really going to come to the dial here. You have the silver dial, which can be viewed through the flat mineral crystal that protects it. It's a bright silver color and divided into two sections. The outermost section is the minute track that runs along the perimeter and features a circular grain, which when playing with the light almost always seems to contrast the larger interior portion of the dial when changing the angle of the case. This center section, which makes up nearly the entire dial, features a brush finish that runs vertically from 12 to 6 across. Seated along the outside of the dial and straddling the inner and outer sections of that dial are applied steel markers indicating the hours that are pretty well finished in their just kind of elevation and just look under different lighting conditions for the price that's going to be on display here. These markers are polished with a groove running vertically down the center, giving it an appearance of two stick markers set parallel to each other. Aligned with the crown of the 3 o'clock is the faceted day-date aperture displaying the white day and date wheels below. Telling the time in the center of the dial are a pair of pencil-style hands for the hour and minutes with a green sweep second hand with that Waterbury counterweight. The hour and minute hands contain large sections of luminous material that are perfectly adequate for this application. While the lume isn't particularly bright or vibrant in poor lighting condition, it still is going to do the job. The final element to the dial is the text, which is fairly limited, but the only font choice used here really gives this dial a bit more of a modern yet classy look. A simple Timex logo is printed just below the 12 o'clock marker, while printing just below the hand stack is the Waterbury automatic name and logo. Overall, I think this dial is well crafted, kind of leans into the traditional elements where it needs to be, but also offering some modern functionality in the process. Now, turning this watch over to view the automatic movement beneath the exhibition crystal in the center of the screw down case back, the Waterbury is supplied with the Miyota 8215 automatic movement that operates at 3 Hz with a 40-hour power reserve and a unidirectional winding rotor. This movement has been in the Miyota catalog for quite some time and has really been kind of that entry-level workhorse mechanical movement from a Japanese watchmaking perspective. Now, in terms of stated accuracy with these movements out of the box, you're looking at -20 to +40 seconds a day. These are going to run well within those parameters. This particular variant was running at around +17 seconds a day on average. Sure, that's not going to be the most accurate movement that you're going to have here, but in terms of an entry-level movement from a Japanese watchmaking perspective, I think this is perfectly adequate. I think a lot of people sometimes have pretty unrealistic expectations here. Now, in terms of this Miyota caliber, it is going to be running at 21,600 vibrations per hour, 3 Hz. It does not feature hacking, but does feature hand winding, and again, will have a power reserve of approximately 40 hours. Another point when looking at these Miyota movements is that they are going to be a little bit louder with that unidirectional winding. You can feel that rotor kind of going when you do have it on the wrist. In terms of finishing, this is going to be as bare bones as it gets. There's really no finishing whatsoever, but this is going to be a reliable movement, great peace of mind, easy to regulate, and I think at the end of the day, when you're talking around $250, it's certainly going to be an adequate inclusion in a watch like this. So now to unpack looking at this Timex Waterbury Traditional Automatic 39. Now, over the last few years, the Marlin has kind of been that everyday style watch that I think most people would look towards from a mechanical watch perspective, and Timex has been pretty busy revamping their entire catalog. But this watch is pretty well positioned to almost overtake it, if not at least ultimately offer up a really suitable alternative to the Marlin, and it actually is doing quite a few things better. I think it's a bit more refined with the markers on the dial. It actually kind of leans into more of a dressy undertone with kind of what is going for the just layout of the text, as well as those markers again in the handset. I'd say the handset is a little bit of a point that I would just kind of bring up as something that might clash with the rest of the dial. It's dressy in some areas, but this kind of pencil style handset just feels a little bit more casual in its approach. But in terms of an everyday watch from Timex, you could argue that this is one of the best offerings. And I think the best thing here is that 100 meters of water resistance. That's absolutely fantastic. And I think Timex for a long time has neglected that idea in a watch that wasn't in their kind of navy or kind of diver-esque style watches. To see something like that with water resistance in a watch that almost looks dressy in its appearance is great to see. And I think this is kind of an idea that I think many enthusiasts wanted to see from Timex, but just the idea that they're actually listening to what consumers want. And I believe that their type of consumer base is changing and adapting. And the good news is Timex is actually being nimble with what they're offering. And I think a watch like this is a great representation of that. Although there might be a little bit of fence sitting with this watch, not fully leaning into what it's trying to be, I think that ultimately is going to be one of its greatest strengths as well. 100 meters of water resistance, going to be appropriate in a wide variety of environments. Pretty reliable movement on the inside, despite it not featuring hacking. Would have been nice to see there. But really, this is just a nice executed watch from Timex for around $250. You really can't ask for much more. And I think this is a great sign of what is to come from Timex and a very welcome new addition to their offering. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That really does help out the channel. Also, if you're in the market for this watch and you like what you saw here today, definitely check it out. It's available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. Full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support. We also offer price match. So if you see one of our products for cheaper at another authorized dealer, fill out the form and we'll get in touch with you. Also, all of our products come with a full factory warranty, so you're completely covered if something goes wrong. You don't have that cost on your head. And finally, 9 out of every $10 that we generate goes right back in the content we're creating here, as well as on our main channel, helping to foster up a new generation of watch enthusiasts in the process. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.